Okay. All right. We're calling the meeting back to order. Oh,
There you go.
we're in order. Okay. Now we're to item C, the board consent.
We don't have to do
Oh,
pledge
the
allegiance.
pledge
twice.
Yeah, we
allegiance.
usually do that.
We know most of it, we don't, but that's okay.
Okay. All right.
That's not
Okay. Ms. DeSanto, could you lead us?
Sir. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you can remain standing, we'd like to do a moment of silence. Do you want to?
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay. We are saddened by the tragic loss of Melissa Marchese, a Shoreham-Brady River student who lost her life as a result of a tragic car accident. Please join us in a moment of silence for Melissa and in extending our heartfelt sympathy to her family and friends during this most difficult time.
Thank you, Dr. Gianni.
Okay, please be seated.
So we're now back on the agenda. Section C, the board consent agenda.
Yes.
And we need a,
Evaluations.
The emergency bank.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Take a look for where the exit signs are in case of an emergency. That's where you're supposed to go. And, oh, they wrote it out. In the event of an emergency, please leave in an orderly fashion through these exits. It's a smoke-free school district. Smoking is not permitted in the building or anywhere on school grounds. Now we go to the consent agenda. And we have the motion
For a motion.
to accept items 1 through 7. C, 1 through 7. Is there a motion to accept them? Mr. Nix and seconded by Ms. Aruda. All in favor?
Oh, discussion?
Oh, any discussion? All in favor? Okay. That motion carries, and I have to do that. Okay.
Now you're gonna do.
Okay, now we also have in section 6, items 8 and 9. Is there a motion to approve those items?
I make a motion.
Mr. Pacini, second, Mr. Parker. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimously approved. Next, we have, yes, that's for you. Next is the superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you, President Hayes. Last Thursday, Bellport High School celebrated our seniors at its annual graduation ceremonies. The weather cooperated as usual, and it was a great day for our seniors along with their family and friends. The crowd heard touching speeches from Mr. Hogan, the class president, valedictorian, salutatorian, and SAS. It was simply a great day, so congratulations to all. Last week, on Monday, June 24th, Bellport Middle School celebrated our 8th graders and its graduation ceremonies at Bellport High School. Another great day. Congratulations to our new 9th graders as well as their families. And that is all the announcements that I have.
Thank you. Are there any reports from trustees or advisory committee members?
Usually, we go around the table
Any-
and see if anyone
All right,
wants to.
start with Ms. DeSanto.
Well, as Dr. Gianni did mention, graduation was a wonderful event. I thought that it actually went even more smoothly than it had in the past. I actually wanted to thank Mr. Latore for his skills in reading through the names, and I think it was probably the quickest graduation ceremony that we've actually had, very efficient. So, it was really a beautiful day, and obviously as a board member, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it as a parent as well. I wanted to apologize, I was not able to make the middle school graduation this year because I had a work schedule change, because I usually like to see that as well, so I wasn't able to attend that particular meeting. And I actually wanted to, and I'd be remiss, wanted to thank Dr. Gianni for the striping in front of the high school for the parking. So I think that was nice to see. I wouldn't mind seeing it continue to the rest of the front.
We're working on the lights for you.
Okay, and the lights. Well, even though I no longer have a child in the building, health and safety in all the buildings is still important. So I think that was a positive step for anyone who does go to the high school. This is a place for them to park. It's a little more welcoming in that respect. So everyone, thank you. Mr. Riddle?
I'd just like to thank the community for allowing me to be on this side of the table. I'm looking forward to working with the board, working with the community, the teachers, the administration, so that we can strive for excellence. Lastly, currently my daughter is attending the volleyball camp at the high school, the summer volleyball camp by Ms. Hoffman and a few of the other coaches, and it's a wonderful program. I love picking her up and watching all the girls excited and really working on their skills, so it's a great program that they have going on.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I echo what the superintendent said. I'm always amazed at how graduation goes off without a hitch. And usually there's always a little something that nobody else notices, but we do behind the scenes. There was none of that this year. And it was really wonderfully done, as always. And there's so many people to thank that were thanked that night. So I'm not gonna mention names because I'll screw it up. But in general, and I'd say that the ending of school year is probably the most pleasant and uneventful that I can remember in my, as I enter my 8th year here. I can think of some pretty tough times, under different administrations and the mayhem that was the teenagers caused in the middle school and high school as school ended. And I think it's a credit to the work of a lot of people to put in expectations and discipline policies, et cetera, starting with the superintendent and the board and being carried out right down through the administration as a whole and our staff as a whole to just make a really pleasant environment. I don't even think we have a senior prank anymore. We haven't had one in a couple of years, so that's a real indication of some of the good stuff that's happening in our building. So thank you to everybody who has done that. So that's it. That's all I really got.
Mr. Nix?
I just want to thank my fellow board members for putting their faith in me to continue as vice president. I really look forward to working with our new trustees. We already have Mr. Trent on here for the last couple meetings, but welcome to him. We have Mr. Parker, Mr. Ruda, and now our newly elected President Hayes. And I really look forward to working with you into creating an excellent district like we know it can be. Thank you.
Mr. Parker?
Thank you, everyone. I attended the high school graduation, and I tell you, it's the first that I've attended in years. I was so excited watching the young people, and I can't tell you how I felt. I felt so good. I didn't have a child there, but everything was just so perfect. I also attended the Voces graduation, and I thought that was really super as well. So I think we're on the right track.
Mr. Trent?
I also attended graduation. That was my first graduation I ever attended, the best one thus far. I didn't attend my own graduation, but this one was amazing. Seeing the excitement on the kids' face, definitely hit home. I also want to welcome the new trustees and congratulations on our vice president and our president. I also want to thank big shout out to Miss Watson's class. I visited them for the writer celebration at Vern W. Critz, and she made me this. The class made me this poster that is going on my wall. Thank you to them. They all signed it. It's beautiful. But I think that's all I have at this moment.
I won't repeat everything that everybody else said so nicely, but to thank everyone for this this new learning opportunity for me. And not only am I struggling now to learn about Robert's Rules of Order and to try to keep the meeting moving so that we don't keep people late, we will get better with that. But the other opportunity I'm having for learning is finding out more about what's going on in the school district. And I, along with Mr. Parker, went to the ceremony at the Academic Center. And it was so heartwarming to go up there. I didn't know about that program, but it was phenomenal. And to see how successful it was for students who had the capacity to achieve and perform, and they were provided the opportunity to do it. It was really good to see. And I am looking forward to working with everybody else around the table so that opportunities to have that feeling for all the children in our district can happen. So I thank you for that. Okay, more business. Any public commentary? Do we have any cards? No comments? Okay. Then the next are items for discussion.
Yes.
Now, the first item is one where technically I don't think under the law I have to recuse myself, but in order to avoid any appearance of impropriety because of my past involvement, I'm going to yield this to our Vice President and let him do the first.
I'll be speaking and then.
Oh, you
board will-
speak, okay, sorry to step on your thunder.
So, I thunderstepped on you. Ready, Mr. Nix, for me to
Yes,
go?
ready, thank you.
Okay, so our first item for discussion is the 2019-20 Universal Pre-K Award. Included in the board's material is an analysis of the UPK RFP responses. The district has received a total of 4 submissions from our Universal Pre-K request for proposal this evening. We'd like to share the results with the board and recommend an option for the board's consideration and action. Taking the RFP responses, administration created 5 options for the board's review and consideration. We had a goal of reaching maintenance of effort, which is 157 youngsters, without exceeding the maximum number of pupils that are reimbursable, which is 195, all while increasing the number of full-day class offerings. Administration recommends option 3 for the board's consideration. Option 3 meets this goal while staying within the UPK grant allocation and our funding plan. Option 3 would award Head Start with 1 full-day class, the new interdisciplinary school with 2 full-day classes, and Bellport United Methodist with 2 half-day classes. The district would operate 4 half-day classes and 1 full-day class, meaning our total program would consist of 4 full-day classes, or 74 seats, and 6 half-day classes for 108 seats, and a total of 182 seats. We are also in the process of seeking a vendor who would provide AM and PM child care at South Haven in the 1 open classroom that we would have. This would extend the day for a half-day program, children and families, at a fee paid for by the district. Administration recommends option 3 for the board's discussion and action. Let me bring it back to Mr. Nix.
Okay, great. So I will, we need to act on this tonight.
We
so-
need yes, we do. So we need a motion,
We do need a
and then the
motion
board
and
can
a second,
discuss.
right?
Yeah.
So I'll make the motion and seconded by trustee Trent. And now I'll open up for discussion. I'm personally comfortable with option 3. I think it really covers all of our bases. So I would support the administration's recommendation. Is there any other opinions? Mrs. Santos?
Well, first, let me say that I'm thrilled on a number of counts here. I'm happy that we will have 4 full-day classes available because parents have expressed that there is a need for that. as well as those parents who prefer the half-day option. So hopefully that will really meet the needs of everyone in our community. I am also ecstatic that the new interdisciplinary school did bid and was chosen. I don't even know words to tell you how much I love their program. Both my children went through that program, and I really have just found that their faculty is phenomenal, and it's a beautiful building as well. So I'm happy that we're giving the parents of a district additional choices in regards to the pre-K. And of course, I'm thrilled that we're opening up our building. I do have a question about the vendor for the potential vendor for AM/PM childcare. How are we seeking that? Are we doing an RFP separately for that? or-
We're actually reaching out to some vendors, particularly the one that does the before and after care that we currently have. I think Scope.
Scope. I was wondering if we
And,
were going to collaborate with Scope on that in
Yeah,
addition.
we've also inquired with NIS as well.
Okay. And then to do that on site
Sure.
at the
So,
South Haven building?
yes,
Because I
so there's
don't know.
6 classrooms available. Our staff will be taking up 3 of the classrooms. NIS full-day program will take up the other 2 classrooms, and there's 1 remaining classroom,
Gotcha.
which we'd leave vacant for that before or after, well, not before or after care, it's really AM/PM care.
Gotcha. It would be the beginning. Thank you very much for the information.
You're welcome.
And that AM/PM care will be at the cost of the district, you said?
Yes, because it's a half-day program,
Okay.
similar to our before and after care, which is at a cost to the folks that utilize that. Be similar to that, but only really during the school day. However, I don't want to say that cost would be the same.
Is there any other discussion before we take a vote? Okay. Those in favor of approving option number 3 for the 2019 to 2020 Universal Pre-Kindergarten RFP results? Can I get a show of hands? Okay, great. Any in opposition? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. Motion carries. I'll turn it back over to President Gates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We're back to the superintendent.
Yes, moving on to our next item for discussion, which is the creation of a retirement contribution reserve sub-fund. Under new amendments to General Municipal Law 6R, a Board of Education may authorize by resolution to establish a sub-fund within its retirement contribution reserve fund to finance retirement contributions to the New York State Teachers Retirement System. The amount of monies contributed annually for the sub-fund cannot exceed 2% of total compensations of salaries for all teachers employed by the district in TRS, nor can the balance of the sub-fund exceed 10% of total compensation of salaries for all teachers employed by the district who are members of TRS. In addition, by resolution, the school board may also authorize the transfer of monies from the retirement contribution reserve fund to the sub-fund, or vice versa, subject to the limits I previously mentioned. Administration recommends the creation of the sub-fund within the current retirement contribution reserve fund, which will allow the district to set aside monies for future pension contributions on behalf of district employees who are obviously members of TRS. I offer this for the board's discussion and action.
Is there a motion? Someone want to make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation? Mr. Trent? A second? Mr. Pacini, any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous, and that approval is granted.
Okay, thank you. The next item for discussion is determination of trustee memberships for each of the board's advisory committees. Each board member will choose 1 or 2 committees to sit on with committee membership not to exceed 3 trustees on a committee. The board president serves as ex officio on all committees with all voting rights. Committees will meet quarterly, October, December, March, and June generally, and may establish subcommittees for the purpose of reviewing and analyzing items in more detail. I've listed and provided trustee memberships from last school year within board docs for the board's review. We need to discuss and determine who may wish to serve and sit on which of our committees. So I don't know if the current or the previous trustees wish to continue, or if the board wishes to mix it up somehow. This is not an action item, this is simply a discussion.
A sign up, a discussion
sign up,
item?
yes.
Okay, Mr. Pacini?
I'd like to stay on finance and facilities. You can take me off health and safety if it's needed to make room for another trustee that wants to be there. But I'd like to stay on finance and facilities.
I'd like to move from a community member to a trustee for teaching and learning.
Ms. DeSanto?
I'd like to remain on teaching and learning. I would be interested in serving on health and safety, but I would certainly defer, because that would, if there's a new board member who would like to join.
So there's 2 spots if Mr. Lucchini bows out.
No, I think Mr. Cheney said he's staying on,
Yeah.
no, is he?
No, I'm
Oh,
fine with leaving
okay.
finance,
Oh,
health
I
and
would-
safety.
yeah, I'd be
I'd like to stay on
interested in
finance and
health and
facilities, so if you want to put Mr. Santo in my spot,
Okay. Mr. Nix?
I would prefer to stay on strategic planning and health and safety if possible. But like Mr. Pacini said, if a new trustee wanted to sit on health and safety, since there's only 2 spots, I would vacate that for them.
But it says
No,
3
there's
seats
3
here.
spots.
There are 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
No,
1,
she's not on it.
2,
Yeah, showing it, yeah.
3,
You only have
4,
2
5,
numbers,
6
right?
spots still left.
I would like to be on health and safety.
And safety, Mr. Trent, okay. And Mr. Parker,
I'll join Mr. Pacini in finance and facilities.
okay.
Can I also be added to strategic planning?
Well, no, currently there's only 1, so yes. yes, you
We
can.
want to avoid 3
What?
members.
Yeah,
if
but I only
possible.
have 1 on.
No, I'm just saying, as a general statement, I think, because if the board president chooses to go to a meeting while 3 trustees are there, you can't because it's quorum.
Yeah.
That's what we run into now.
And-
So- But I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we have 3 on any committee yet, so I just,
Health and safety.
Only if we pull Mr. Nix off of health and safety.
I would be willing to do that for.
Well, we don't need to because.
we don't need to because.
We have a
I've got-
spot on finance, and we have a spot on strategic, and we have 2 spots on T&L.
No, you,
Yeah,
2.
only Mr. Santo
And
and
myself.
Mr. Ruda on T&L. I'm sorry, 1 spot on T&L. 1 spot.
but I think you're saying not to use 3
I'm just saying,
numbers.
if it's avoidable, because if the
Not
board
to
president,
3.
what we've done in the past was that if 3 trustees are on a committee, and if the board president wanted to attend, they would really either only attend when a board member wasn't gonna be in a presence, or there would be a discussion, hey, can I go this night and you take off?
Right.
Because we wanna avoid having a quorum at a meeting.
The meetings have been sparsely attended, so
Yeah,
I'm sure.
not-
I'm sure it's not an
That we're
issue.
not gonna have an
And that's
issue.
it, I'm not an issue, I doubt it's an issue, but it would be something I thought was worth mentioning, that's all.
If it's okay with the rest of the board, I've been on strategic planning, and I think it would make some sense if I continued to do it, particularly since we were setting up a legislative subcommittee of that.
Okay.
And I would like to keep an eye on that so that maybe we can delegate. We've got other members who could participate in that, like Mr. Pacini, along with his
Yeah, sure.
Nassau Suffolk School Board.
Yeah, as long as there's not a stipulation that you can't be on a subcommittee of a committee if you're not on the
No.
actual committee. So
No.
yes, because I would like to be on the legislative committee, yes.
Well, I think we need to be mindful of not more than 3.
Yeah, sure, no, absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. So but I think that's another discussion.
Well, another point of discussion on that is that the board president can create separate committees. It doesn't have to be a subcommittee of that.
It's a good point.
And
It's
the
just,
legislative committee ought to be a separate.
thank you.
committee,
I
not
was gonna say
subcommittee.
something. The legislative committee should not be a subcommittee. That should be a separate board, committee created
board
by the
committee.
board. I don't think it should fall in this category. That's my personal opinion.
In that case, let's just back up and continue discussing it, because I think that's gonna cover some issues that you're probably gonna deal with for Nassau Suffolk
Sure.
School Boards Association. And I'm wondering if Mr. Parker would have any interest in sitting on that committee also.
On legislative.
Legislative, because that would be communicating with, say, Assembly and Senate
Sure, legislative.
representatives about things that affect our district, and is this something that would interest you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I didn't bring that committee with me, but my recollection is that Mr. Pacini and Mr. Santo has already indicated an interest in that, so that would be 3.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I've been asking them for that committee for several years now.
Okay, so we'll open up the discussion. Again, we've got 3 of you, all of whom are interested. And
And again, we can't have 3.
as long as only 2 attend.
No,
No,
3
no,
can, no,
3
3 can
Yeah.
attend, 4 can't attend.
Oh, that's right.
So if you decide in your capacity of ex officio trust member to show up, you should communicate that and we should,
So this will work then. You, Clyde Parker, and Lisa would be the members of the legislative committee? Okay.
and correct me, and I'd like to ask counsel, I think a board member can show up and,
In the parental capacity, or
it is a community member, but you can show up as an observer because it is a public meeting, correct?
Right, so you can
So you can
attend
show up
that.
and observe, you can't participate in the discussion and the actions and the direction of the committee, because that would be discussing school district issues in a forum.
And then
So
we want-
it's as a member, as a peer,
And you can-
in the audience as a resident.
Correct. And that's the same with any,
The only issue is for the board president, if the board president is ex officio.
okay, so if the board president shows up, they're not
It must be
Must
clearly
stated at
as-
the meeting that.
I'm here as a community member only.
Correct.
Okay, well, I think we can remember to do
I'm
that,
sure
and
that
we
can
can
work
remind
out.
each other about what the rules are, and that could work, and I like the idea of having board members who are really interested in the topic of the committee that they're serving on, so, okay. To the superintendent, did we get membership on all
Well,
of
we
these? I
have,
think
we
we're
have 2 on finance and facilities,
Mhm.
3 on health and safety, 2 on TNL, and 3 on strategic planning. So if someone wishes to sit on TNL or finance and facilities, we have.
We have room.
Why don't I say who I have, so
Okay.
I can recap. Strategic planning is Mr. Nix, Mr. Trent, and Ms. Hayes. TNL is Mr. Santo and Ms. Aruda. Health and safety is Mr. Santo, Mr. Nix, and Mr. Trent. And finance and facilities are Mr. Pacini and Mr. Parker. That's what I have.
Which is fine unless somebody sees something else they want to be involved in.
Does anyone want to sit on TNL and finance and facilities? It's not a requirement, but we have.
If you have an interest, you should do it.
And as time goes on, if somebody decides they're really interested later in the year, can they
Sure.
join the committee? So,
Sure, it's, like I said, it's not an action item, it's just,
yeah, I would just like to have people who are committed to the committee to make sure that we have each one covered and not have absences.
Well, I was gonna say, if we could perhaps make it kind of our standard operating procedure that if we're on a committee and we're not able to make it, if we can inform the board president, that way she might actually want to attend. We don't have that question of whether there's a potential quorum or not. And perhaps if we know in advance, an email can go out to the rest of the board that if someone happens to be available, they may want to sit in on that meeting.
all right, well, reminder emails go out for each of the
Yes.
meetings. Perhaps, I would suggest that perhaps you not hit reply all and just reply to the sender, and then we can move that to Ms. Hayes.
Okay.
Doug, I have a question. How are community members selected for these committees?
Well, what we generally do is continue them over. We have posted on the website and sought folks who are interested. And when we've had a number of candidates, the board president has been one with administration to select those. That had not needed to happen, I think, in 2 years now.
At one point, we did advertise
Yeah,
this
that's-
long in advance, so.
We had it in advance, we had it on the
we do
website,
that,
and we had
please?
application.
Is that no longer being done?
Well, we've been doing it when we have vacancies, because we have community members, as Hayes, who want to continue. And generally, folks that have been involved are pretty good contributors because they want to be there.
I would like to bring up scheduling issues about the meetings. Right now, I think that they're not really at a family-friendly time, and it makes it difficult for people who work to attend. I think that the meetings need to be shifted to a slightly later time. I also would like to see that we change the way that we've scheduled them in recent years. Right, the past, I guess, 2 years now, we've been doing it quarterly, and we've been doing all the meetings the same week, which is,
It's tough if you're on more than one committee.
it's very difficult if you're on more than one committee. I'd like to see them staggered over the course of the month, rather than having, 4 committee meetings run the same week, which really just makes it difficult for people to participate in more than one. I honestly don't think the quarterly schedule is very effective. I'd like to see that adjusted as well. People forget things over the quarter.
The time of the meeting is definitely an issue.
Well, the time, we came up with the 6 o'clock as a result of surveying those that participated.
No, it's 5:30, the meeting's been 5:30.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree,
Health
because we
and
used to
safety.
have them later, and
Yeah,
then they
I
got
just
shifted
I just know it was
earlier,
difficult
and
for
more
me
people can't
to
attend.
attend them because they were, even 6 o'clock is tough.
Yeah.
So, that's difficult, so if it could be just a little bit later. And listen, it may not be an issue for me in the future, in the next week, but for others it might be.
Okay, we can look at the time. My only concern is we may lose staff that participate when we move from.
I'm not asking to go to 7, 8
6
o'clock,
to
just saying
7, that you're
6:30
asking staff to hang
compromise
around
might
for
be a
another
little
hour.
better.
What are the possibilities of adding a second committee cycle per quarter? So have it be 2 per
We'll
quarter.
elaborate on that. 8 meetings, you're saying? I don't know if that's necessary. That's doubling the meetings. I think you might have a problem. We might have to just look at all new membership, because now you're asking for, an advisory committee to meet 8 times a school year. And that's not the way it was initially set up. I mean, I would suggest if the board feels there's not enough meetings, we add 1 or 2 rather than double it.
I would look to at the very least add them towards the beginning of the school year to get certain things started.
We had them in September, and we had issues with September. That's why we moved to October. I mean, things are happening,
Well-
obviously. It's not necessary that the committee meets for things to.
Well, I mean, shouldn't the committee decide that when they're formed? If they have issues that need to be addressed, they could always add meetings. I don't know that we can sit here at this point and say
Sure.
that there's a need for more or less meetings. Let's let
Right.
the committee decide when they have a topic in front of them.
And at times that happens. I'll point to the strategic planning and the moving vision, the vision committee. Committee was meeting just about weekly.
So we will have the committee, the first committee meetings, and whoever's on the committee will decide.
Well, I think we'll get
Or you
feedback.
wanna-
We'll get feedback at that point with the committee. But currently, the first are scheduled for early October. I don't know if early September, or, September is, I'd have to look at the calendar, to be honest with you. But September was a problem before.
Well, this year, the holidays are in October, so September should be less of an issue this year. And September is a full month of school.
So I'm going to survey the committee separately on time and number of meetings. Is that what I'm
Right.
hearing?
And with a start date in September, because
Well, I'll look
I
at the
would say
calendar.
late September, if
It
it's in
would have to be
September, it'd
late.
have to be late September. Other than that, just, well, because we do have a lot of teachers, we have administrators on there, those first few weeks, you know, it's a little crazy. So
Is
if
it-
we're gonna do September, I would go a little bit later in September.
is it easiest for all board members if we know there's gonna be one evening, like Wednesday evenings would generally be devoted to board business, whether it's a board meeting like tonight or a committee meeting, would there be a way to skip?
Not enough
that
Wednesdays.
Not enough
Yeah,
Wednesdays.
that's-
Not enough
that's-
Wednesdays. Okay.
I mean, we still have time to discuss
Yeah,
this too.
yeah,
before
we have time.
I guess I was hopeful to get as much as we could on the new calendar, because that is timely.
Well, I can look at the calendar in terms of moving October to late September and make that change. And then the other items, I think, you know, while we put things on the hard copy calendar, things always change and we always update the other calendar, so. Time and number of meetings. What was the other item? I started writing something and I got
Staggered.
early
Yeah.
September. Late September. Okay. Is that all for the feedback on that?
I just also have a suggestion, but I don't know if this has to wait till the actual first meeting. I have had a couple of community members as well as faculty members approach me in regards to a subcommittee on school lunch program. So,
We
there.
could create that under finance and facilities, that's
Well,
right.
I don't know if that goes into finance and facilities or health and safety, healthy eating, I don't know how you probably work that,
Any-
but
any-
it is crossover.
Any specifics in terms of,
Well, talking about how, as we've experienced for a number of years now, that we send out an RFP and we get one response, and from a parent and student perspective, no one's happy with our food service. And I think we ought to be able to do better. And a couple of other people that have shared their opinions with me about that. And thinking outside the box, we have a phenomenal culinary program here. Maybe we can do something with that. And I have spoken to Ms. Mason, and she was very much excited about this.
I think it sounds like finance and facilities, but that doesn't mean we can't mix up a subcommittee with other members.
At the very least, starting to look at some of these surrounding districts that have their own in-house lunch programs, and then going
We
from
looked at
there.
that before, the issue was the benefits, it was, the Affordable Care Act was an issue if we, I don't know if that's an issue, I don't think it's an issue anymore.
Yeah, it's
So
a
maybe
new
something
day.
we look at it again. Because it is a self-sustaining fund, it pays for itself. There's always the benefits, always an issue. So,
Do we need to open this up now for people here who might want to be on that subcommittee?
No,
subcommittee's got to form first,
Yeah,
right?
First we have to form it. And you could just jump on that again. So,
Anything?
yeah. Okay. Anything more on advisory committees? Okay, so the next item for discussion is to determine school liaison.
excuse me, I'm sorry, I have a question, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Please.
I have an emergency, I gotta leave. However, I'm wondering if we can skip ahead to personnel, because I'd like to be here for some of those votes, one in particular. So if we could either move expeditiously through this section, then go to H, or if we can go right to H now.
I think we're almost there.
We are almost there,
G-
I don't wanna stifle anybody's comments, because I gotta
The
leave, but I need to be
only
of
other
personnel.
extended discussion might be this board retreat
Yes, that might-
scheduling.
And that's one of the things I think is gonna derail it, so I was wondering if we can, if the board wouldn't mind.
Yeah, we can have
I do have a situation I gotta attend to.
That's,
That'd be okay?
So you have to move.
We have to finish this section?
No, you can move
Make
it
a move,
you have to
so I can make a
move-
motion.
Make a motion to take it out of order.
Right, so I make a motion that we move item H in its entirety to now.
Well, I can just do the one item, right?
That's fine too, if you want to do it that way.
Right.
Yes.
Just make sure it's clear that we are, the one item voting on is the employee discussed in executive
Right,
session.
so did we need a motion
Yeah.
to take something out of order?
Yes.
All right, so.
I'll make that
A
motion.
motion to take item
Thank
H, what is that, 6?
H46,
H, 4.6?
yes.
Out
Which
of
is-
order.
which is wanna
And
make
the
sure.
motion's made by Mr. Pacini, seconded by Mr. Trent.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
This is only taking it out of order.
Okay, so all in favor of taking it out of order, raise your hand. It's unanimous.
And administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in Schedule H46.
I make a motion.
Sorry, I was asleep. It's a tie. Take your pick.
I
First
saw
and
him
second.
first.
Gotcha.
Mr. Trent, motion by Mr. Trent, seconded by Mr. Pacini.
Mm-hmm.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? 5 in favor, 2 opposed. The motion carries.
Thank you to the trustees who did that for me, I appreciate it.
Okay, moving on back to item for discussion
Meeting
4,
move.
determination of
Say
school
again?
liaisons. Each school has at least one trustee who serves as a school liaison between the school and the Board of Education. Who listed in board docs are each of our schools, including South Haven Early Childhood Center. We need to, again, who wants to be where?
If I may suggest, I like to be liaison for the high school.
I'm
not
gonna
sure.
write everything down and then
Okay.
we'll decide. So that's
All right.
Trent, high school.
And Mr. Nix?
I would like to stick with being liaison for Kramer Elementary.
I would like to be liaison for Frank Long.
Mr. Pacini didn't express a preference.
He was.
What was he on?
He was Crits before, but his kids graduated. They're at Long now, so that's out, so.
Okay.
You know, when you're not here,
You're
you
not
get what's
here, you don't.
left.
So, Mrs. DeSanto, which one would you choose?
South Haven, please.
That's gonna be a fun one.
Mr. Parker?
And what's left?
We have the middle school,
Brookhaven, middle
I'll
school,
take the
and
middle
Crits.
school.
middle school. And that leaves,
Brookhaven,
for
and Crits.
Brookhaven and Fritz. And so one for Mr. Pacini and
One for you.
one for me. Do you have any sense at all as to whether he cares or is it toss-up?
I would think that he'd rather stay where he was than start Brookhaven, having no children at that building, but I don't want to speak for him. I would leave him at Crits. Would be
I'd assume this.
my unofficial recommendation.
Okay, Chris. And then, so I will take Brookhaven,
Okay,
okay?
great. Our next item for discussion is selection and appointment of a trustee to serve as a representative to the New York State Countywide Shared Service Initiative, or better known as Suffolk Share. Suffolk Share is a virtual marketplace for Suffolk County towns, villages, and school districts and fire districts, and more to share services, procure goods collaboratively, and to find best pricing on goods available through piggyback contracts. Participation in Suffolk Share is voluntary. Each Suffolk Share member determines when it will participate in a bid, solicitation, or purchase, or a contract award. I offer this for the board's discussion and action. We do need to act. I believe both Mr. Nix and Ms. Felice served as representatives. You were the-
Myself and Ms. Hunt.
Ms. Hunt, my apologies, in the past.
So you did that this year?
Last year.
I did it my first year on the board, 2017. Ms.
Okay.
Hunt did it last year. So now we get to
Can't, you,
I have
Do
to
you have a
abstain.
conflict?
Yeah, I have to abstain given my job.
I wouldn't mind if anybody else doesn't.
Um, I was gonna ask Mr. Parker, in connection with your legislative committee interest, would this be something that would fit into shared services between the different municipalities, fire districts,
Yeah,
county
probably,
legislature, or is
but Cameron
this?
has already said he wanted to.
Well, if you want to, you sure?
Volunteer. I can help you out.
Okay, y'all tell us.
You gotta tell me who, you
Oh,
have a resolution to appoint. It's a fill-in, so I think you just mentioned who it is and take a motion. So who is it?
Okay, I can't tell from the,
It's
okay.
me, Mr.
Okay, we have
Trent.
a motion to have Mr. Trent be the representative. Is there a second for that, Ms. DeSanto? And any discussion? All in favor? Okay, and any abstentions? Okay, so we have 5 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 absent.
Who was first? I'm sorry.
Mr. Trent.
Mr.
is gonna
Trent.
be the representative. Okay, and our final item for discussion is conducting a board retreat for the new school year. By way of serving the board, I've compiled the following dates as possibilities for the board to consider. Sunday, July 28th, Sunday, August 4th, Monday, August 12th through Saturday, August 17th, and Monday, August 19th. In addition to determining a date or dates, we would still need to confirm a time and location. Also, in the past, we've had a host of items, whether a facilitator do it or us doing it ourselves. So those are items that I think once we get the date, we can talk about, or dates.
Are you suggesting that this should be a few hours, like in an evening, or an afternoon on a weekend, or an all day? Or what do you have in mind?
Well, I don't. I can tell you what we have done. We have done a full day, like a Saturday, which I believe was 9 to 3-ish, was it, Mrs. Santa? We've also done evening into the following Saturday. We've done that a couple of times. We've also experimented with mini retreats. And I think we did that once.
Not good.
So there's no set rules in terms, other than content, but there's no set rules in terms of how long and when.
So at the board table, only Mrs. DeSanto and Mr. Nix have participated in a retreat so far. What do the two of you recommend in terms of time and place?
I mean, I think because not only do you have a tremendous number of new board members, but in order to really get through board priorities and some other issues, I do think that you need a full day at the very least.
I would completely agree. I don't think the mini retreats are a very good idea. I think one full day, wherever we end up location-wise, would be good for us.
So if it's gonna be a full day,
It's gotta be some.
it's gonna have to be either of the 2 Sundays or a Saturday. So, does anyone have a preference about Sundays or Saturday?
August 4th I'm likely not gonna be able to make that day.
So that's no good.
Yeah, but any other day and time is fine for me.
So we're down to Sunday, July 28th, or Saturday, August 17th.
I can't make the 28th of July.
So
But yeah.
August 17th.
I was just gonna recommend August 17th because that gives us more time to plan. It gives us
And
more time to
also,
plan.
if you choose to go with a facilitator, probably more likely to get somebody on Saturday than Sunday.
Okay. All right. Now, does that work with you? That
Yeah,
Saturday?
I wouldn't have put a date on it. That
Okay.
wasn't.
We ought to be able to get someone
All
from
right.
NISBA.
So we've
That's
decided on the
what
day,
Mhm.
and we've decided it should take up the bulk of the day.
So what is that, 9 to 5, or what is a full day?
We never did it 9 to 5. I think we scheduled 9 to 3 and probably got out a little earlier than that, right?
Get early.
No, it depends. If it's a prepared facilitator coming in, then there's an agenda prepared. It includes generally a survey that's done before, and then they custom craft the retreat for you. And you tell them the portions of the day, and they fill the day.
And where are these generally held?
Well, we've done them from here to the country club. I don't
Boys
know.
and Girls Club.
Boys and
we've
Girls
used.
Club was our first when I arrived, so it's, again, no set place. Recommendation always is to take it away from here, rather than be in the place that you operate business all the time. So it's generally somewhere else. Do we have a date? Do you wanna agree on a time?
Well, wouldn't that be affected by a facilitator and that person's
No, if-
availability, or?
If we're hiring somebody and they're available that day, they'll be there for when we tell them to be there.
I like a 9 to 3.
9 to 3.
I would agree with that.
So we have August 17th, 9 to 3. And, I guess site,
Can you give us like a list of options or
in terms of,
where we should have it?
well, I don't, that's really up to the board where you could have. My suggestion would be not here.
But we could have it anywhere.
Well, no, you could have it anywhere that's available. So if you chose to go to, say, the country club and it's not available, you can't go there.
Okay, but the attendees would be the 7 board members and
And
you.
myself,
And
yeah.
that's it,
That's
8
it.
people.
That's it. And the facility, if
9.
there is one. I think I'm hearing facilitator,
Yes.
right? Do you want to engage NISBA as we have in the past? We've also engaged in independent folks. Or folk, right? It was just one
Have you-
independent we had, right? Mr. Santo?
Have you experienced both of them, so
Yes.
you would know which you prefer?
I think it's a good idea actually to go with NISBA because there are so many, well, there might be a lot of policy questions and kind of, they can really give you an in-depth discussion of that. And they have a lot of collateral materials on all different school board issues. So I think that might be a good place to start.
I would agree with Mr. Santo.
And in terms of the location, or do they need any kind of electronic equipment or anything like that? Or
Yeah.
is it just a place where you need to sit comfortably around a table and?
No, NISBA requires a setup, but that does, I wouldn't let that knock anything out because we couldn't be portable for anything they need.
They come with a whole kit of things, so depending on what you want them to do.
Country club probably be the most expensive, but in terms of cost.
NISBA is, I can tell you.
I think he
Country
said
club.
the country
Oh,
club.
the country club. Yeah, I don't recall what the cost was that, but that included food as well. Yeah. I don't recommend going back to the country club anyway. I think we're on their hate list. We cancel them.
Well, I had mentioned, and I don't know if I did it to the group or just to Dr. Gianni, something like the Post-Morrow Foundation, and they've got there's a building there that has a small like kitchenette area, and then I guess there are breaks during the day, and they have nice walking trails, boardwalks through the woods along the creek.
Do they have air conditioning?
Not sure.
No.
That's required for me in August.
Okay. Then I don't have any other ideas. Can somebody else suggest a locale or the type of thing you would look for?
Back room of a restaurant. Something like that.
Well, if we're going to have it catered, then we probably could get something like that. right?
Somewhere in Patchogue.
Boys and Girls Club would also be an option, wouldn't it?
BJ, yeah.
Maybe the libraries, perhaps.
You can't even go.
They've,
I like the
they
restaurant.
have meeting rooms. I don't know, well, I'm not sure what restaurant are available. Saturday afternoon might be tough.
This is Sunday. Oh, I'm sorry,
Saturday.
Saturday the 17th.
Why don't we do some exploring with the terms of availability of B&G libraries and maybe and come back to the board. I mean, we have a date, we have a time, we have a facilitator.
More than we've had in the past, so.
Progress.
Oh. What, I'm sorry.
I said
Aren't you
it's
glad-
more than we've had in the past.
Sure.
Aren't you glad I asked to put it on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so I have August 17th. We will look at Boys and Girls Club, public libraries, and a restaurant. If Mr. Felix, if you want to give me that name, I can take a peek at that. 9 to 3 and NISBA. Okay, thank you. Now, we go-
Don't you do the curriculum one
Yes,
also?
I do, ma'am. I do. We're ready to move to curriculum. The administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in Schedule G1 and G2.
Is there a motion to accept the recommendation, Mr. Nix, and second by Mr. Trent? All in favor? 6 in favor, and 1 absent. So that is approved.
Thank you. And moving to personnel, I ask the board to bear with me. Oh, actually, I can
Right.
do them all in one shot, okay? And that's what I will do. The administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H1 through H3, and H5 and H6, and H4 item, H4 1 through H4 5, and H4 7 through H4 100.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Trent made the motion, Ms. Garuda second. Any discussion? All in favor? 6 in favor, 1 absent. So that's approved.
And moving to business items, administration recommends approval of business items reflected in Schedule I-1 through I-37.
Is there a motion to approve these items? Mr. Nix, Ms. DeSanto second. All in, any discussion?
Just I-21, if we could get a report on the items that will be, as we talked about, that will be discussed.
Yes,
for I-21.
absolutely.
Okay?
So, all in favor? It's 6 in favor, 1 absent. That is approved.
And do we have any public commentary? Public commentary too, so we do not. So then you would move to closing remarks.
We want to recognize I-1.
Mr. Nix will be, I'm sorry. Sorry.
That,
Resignation.
no,
No,
the
no,
ratification of the contract.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Yes.
So the board acted and accepted a ratified contract of BTAA, or TAs and Age Unit, and that contract is a four-year assignment. So congratulations to BTAA, and thank you to the board.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sanders.
And then
Closing remarks.
we have closing remarks. We'll start with Mr. Trent.
I would like to thank everybody for staying. It's been a long meeting.
Mr. Parker.
Again, this is quite an experience. I intend to do all I can to make this a wonderful experience for the kids, for the parents, and for all the teachers.
Mr. Nix.
Yes, okay, I have some thank yous. Thank you to Harry and June Miller for their generous donation of $200 to help clear negative balances in student lunch accounts. That's a beautiful thing. And I also will echo Mr. Parker and say that I really am looking forward to this new board, this new school year. I think that we can do wonderful things, especially judging by the discussion that we've had tonight alone. So I look forward to working with all of you.
Good. Echo the same thing, I'm looking forward to it. I promise that we will wrap it up quicker. I sat 5 years there, I know what these meetings feel like. I promise you, we will make it quicker as we go through.
I just wanted to respectfully request that some information get shared with the entire board. I had gone to one of the NISBA summits, and it was the Equity Summit at Teachers College, and I had shared some information with the district clerk, and I'd like the current board to receive that information from the Equity Summit, because I think it's very applicable to our school district, as well as some information that I shared from another NISBA conference about superintendent's evaluations, that in line with a budget, that's probably one of the paramount things that a school board needs to achieve. And so there was some great information from that particular conference, as well as potentially a system to aid in the collection of the information. So I would like to have everyone take a look at that, and perhaps once they've seen it, have that put on a future agenda so that we can discuss whether we want to implement that. I also want to remind everyone of some of the wonderful things and possibilities going on in the school district. Since our next meeting isn't till the end of the month, I did want to remind everyone that the South Country Education Foundation cocktail party is on Saturday, July 13th, and that organization provides a tremendous number of grants to enrich the learning in our school district. So if you have the opportunity, I would certainly hope that everyone does make some effort to attend that. Again, Saturday, July 13th. Also wanted to mention, as part of the South Country Education Foundation, the Students for Art Camp will begin running July 29th through August 2nd. And I wish I were a student again, because I wish I could go to that camp. Both my daughters have, through the years, had gone through that, and it is just a phenomenal experience. Not only the wonderful teachers in our district who teach all different mediums of art to students K through high school, but also quite a few community members who bring their art talents
and we have, I don't know if you really noticed or realize, we have a phenomenal amount of world-renowned artists living in our community, and they donate their time to the art camp, and they work with all of our students, creating just phenomenal artwork. Also, in line with that, the Education Foundation has the music camp, which is August 5th through August 9th. And I wanted to mention that the fall grant cycle is August 1st, so put that on your calendar, because I know that we have some of our faculty members in the audience who are prolific grant writers who bring a lot of wonderful things into their classroom with the help of the funding from the South Country Education Foundation. So,
Just piggyback on the invitation to the foundation. It will be in the update for those board members who might not have received it in the mail. It will be in the update, and the update will go out tomorrow as opposed to Thursday.
oh, one last thing I did forget to mention, if I may. Can we receive in our update the current enrollment for the pre-K program?
Sure, 144.
Okay, we're up, okay, good. And will the bus be making another tour of the school district?
Will the bus be making another tour? You don't think it's doing a pretty good job, Raritan?
Well, 144 is wonderful, but 195 is even better.
44 and
Leave those to
101 full-day requests of those 144. Yeah, we'll take a look at another tour.
Thank you. I'd love us to be at capacity.
When do they get notified if they have to?
Well, now that we have an assignment, we can start doing that. We'll set up the lottery now.
Okay.
Yeah, but we do need to nail down the AM PM care, because what that does is make a half-day program full day. Yeah.
Okay, so that information would be on the website,
In terms of,
notifying families.
we actually contact the family
Okay.
to let them register.
So I'll just sum up too and just say I'm looking forward to working with everybody around the table, and I'm looking forward to the year. I think we've seen some very good things come out of this district, and I think we know there's even better things that can come out, and I'm looking forward to helping us do that. Who wants to make the motion to adjourn? Mr. Ruda?
I'm tired.
Mr. Trent, second. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absence. So thank you very much. It's gotta be, it's gonna be less.